Welcome back, everyone, to Into the Paradox. Today, we're diving deep into a question that I think sparks a lot of debate and really gets to the heart of what martial arts truly are. Joining me are two incredible guests. First up, Joe, the ex-UFC fighter and influencer who brings that raw, competitive edge, and also Martin, a practitioner of Aikido, Qigong, and boxing, offering a much more holistic and traditional perspective. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Peter. Always good to talk about this stuff. It's something I've lived.
It's a pleasure, Peter. I've been looking forward to this conversation. It's a topic I think about quite a bit, balancing the old with the new.
Excellent. So let's just jump right in. The big question, the paradox we're exploring today is, will classical martial arts, the CMAs, ever truly become mixed martial arts in the future? Joe, I want to start with you. From your perspective, having been in the octagon, what's your initial gut feeling?
My gut, no. Absolutely not. And here's why. They're fundamentally different beasts. MMA for me was about winning, period. It's a sport, a brutal one, with rules, yes, but the goal is to beat the guy across from you. CMAs, from what I understand, they've got a whole other thing going on, a deeper purpose beyond just the fight itself.
I actually agree with Joe on that core distinction. Surprisingly, maybe to some, they won't fully merge. You see, classical martial arts, they were never just about the physical confrontation. They were about self-defense, yes, but also about character, discipline, physical fitness, mental fortitude, even spiritual enlightenment for many traditions. It's a holistic system, a lifelong journey. MMA, while incredibly demanding mentally and physically, is primarily focused on competitive combat effectiveness within a specific rule set.
That's a fantastic way to frame it, Martin. The purpose. So Joe, when you're training for a UFC fight, were you thinking about character development or spiritual enlightenment in the same way, or was it purely about optimizing your combat effectiveness?
Optimizing, absolutely. Every single session, you're trying to find the quickest, most efficient way to put someone down, or submit them, or outscore them. We'd cross-train in everything. Boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, BJJ, Judo, whatever worked. If a fancy form or a traditional dance didn't directly translate to an advantage in the cage, it wasn't making it into my regimen. There's no time for that when you've got rent to pay and a family to feed, and someone's trying to punch your lights out.
Now enough of us. And that's precisely the difference. For us, the forms, the katas, the specific traditional techniques, they aren't just for show. They're repositories of knowledge, movement patterns refined over generations. They teach balance, coordination, energy flow, not just a singular punch. The combat effectiveness was historically paramount. No doubt these arts were designed for survival. But over time, especially in modern schools, the emphasis shifted for many towards self-cultivation. It's about cultivating the individual, not just winning a fight.
So the goal is fundamentally different. One is self-cultivation, the other is winning the contest. But let's dig a bit deeper into why they won't fully merge. Martin, you mentioned tradition. Is that a major barrier, the preservation of the art versus adaptation for competitive advantage?
It's a huge factor. Many CMA practitioners and schools are essentially guardians of a lineage. They're dedicated to preserving the art's history, its exact techniques, its philosophy, exactly as it was passed down. It's a cultural artifact, a living tradition. To abandon those elements just to be more effective in a modern sport would be to lose the very essence of what makes it a classical martial art.
Yeah, and from the other side, MMA isn't going to suddenly adopt forms or specific rituals if they don't give you an edge in winning a match. Imagine trying to do a kata mid-fight. You'd get knocked out. There's a pragmatic, ruthless efficiency to MMA. If it works, we use it. If it doesn't, it's out. Doesn't matter how old or traditional it is.
That's fair. And then there are the rule sets, which you both alluded to. Joe, in the UFC, you can't eye poke, no groin strikes, no small joint manipulation, no headbutts, etc. But many CMAs were designed for street defense or even warfare, where those illegal moves could be crucial for survival. How does that impact the idea of merging?
Massively. If you're talking real-world self-defense, yeah, all bets are off. If someone's trying to kill you, you do whatever you need to do. MMA is a sport. It's designed for entertainment and to test skill within specific, albeit broad, boundaries. You train your body and mind to operate within those rules. A lot of CMA techniques, while potentially devastating in a no-rules scenario, are simply not applicable or allowed in the cage. So the training methods naturally diverge.
Exactly. A traditional art like Aikido, for example, heavily emphasizes joint locks and throws that are designed to incapacitate or control. Many of those, if applied with full intent in an MMA bout, would cause serious injury and be illegal. Our focus isn't on knocking someone out with a single punch in a ring. It's often about de-escalation, controlling a threat, or creating an opening for escape in a street context. The context dictates the techniques and the ethical framework around them.
Okay, so the distinction is clear. Purpose, tradition, and rules keep them separate, but they definitely influence each other. Joe, you mentioned cross-training. We've seen so many successful MMA fighters who come from classical backgrounds. Lyoto Machida from karate, Ronda Rousey and Kayla Harrison from judo. GSP started with Kyokushin. What does that tell you?
It tells you the foundations are solid. Those classical arts, they build incredible discipline, technique, and often power. When you take a guy like Machida, who had that deep Shotokan karate base, and then you put him through intense wrestling and BJJ, you get something unique. He had that timing, that explosive burst, that distancing that came from his karate, which really threw people off in MMA. It's proof that a lot of those CMA techniques, when adapted and pressure tested, can be incredibly effective.
It's the foundations are solid. Those classical arts, they build incredible discipline, technique, and often power. When you take a guy like Machida, who had that deep Shotokan karate base, and then you put him through intense wrestling and BJJ, you get something unique. He had that timing, that explosive burst, that distancing that came from his karate, which really threw people off in MMA. It's proof that a lot of those CMA techniques, when adapted and pressure tested, can be incredibly effective. It's a fantastic validation, really. It shows that the principles, the body mechanics, the understanding of force and movement are timeless. A well-executed traditional technique, whether it's a judo throw or a karate strike, is still a well-executed technique. The difference is that in MMA, you're forced to prove its effectiveness against a fully resisting, trained opponent who is trying to do the same to you. That reality check is what pushes evolution.
That reality check from MMA is an interesting point. Martin, have you seen the rise of MMA force classical martial arts schools to re-evaluate their training methods, to maybe incorporate more full contact sparring or cross-training?
Absolutely, Peter. It's been a necessary jolt for many. For a long time, some CMA schools, unfortunately, became too focused on the aesthetic, the theoretical application, or even just the forms without really testing them against live, resisting opponents. MMA exposed the limitations of that approach. I've seen a noticeable shift. More schools are incorporating full contact sparring, even if it's light contact, to pressure test techniques. There's a greater openness to cross-training. Striking arts might bring in grappling and vice versa to address their weaknesses. It's about becoming more combat effective without losing the essence of the tradition. Yeah, you can't just touch someone and expect them to fall over like in some movies. You got to hit them or grapple them, and they got to hit back. That's the reality. It's good to see CMAs adapting because a lot of that old knowledge is really valuable. It just needs to be put through the grinder.
And on the flip side, Joe, have you seen MMA itself incorporate elements from CMAs that weren't initially mainstream, like maybe a specific type of footwork or a unique strike that's rooted in something older?
Definitely. Fighters are always looking for an edge, right? We've seen flashes of stuff from capoeira, some crazy spins or kicks, even a bit of Wing Chun trapping in close. It's not common, but when someone pulls it off, and it works, everyone pays attention. It proves that there's still untapped potential in those diverse traditional arts. It's like a continuous search for new angles, new ways to move or strike that an opponent hasn't seen before.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? The ingenuity of the human body and mind, applying ancient principles in new ways. Sometimes it's a specific technique, other times it's a deeper understanding of balance or leverage that a traditional art really emphasizes. I think high-level martial artists, regardless of their background, develop a mutual respect for the discipline and skill required across all forms of combat and physical mastery.
I really like that. Mutual respect. It's not about one being superior to the other, but acknowledging their distinct paths and influences. So looking ahead, what do you both see for the future? Will CMAs simply fade away as MMA grows, or will they continue to thrive side by side?
Oh, CMAs will absolutely endure. There will always be a place for traditional martial arts focused on discipline, character, health, genuine self-defense, and cultural preservation. For many, it's a way of life, not just a sport. They'll continue to evolve internally, some becoming more combat-oriented, others remaining purely traditional. It's a spectrum. The spiritual and philosophical quest that underpins many CMAs is timeless.
The MMA is not going anywhere either. It's too big, too exciting, and it's always evolving as a sport. Fighters are getting better, more complete. It's going to keep absorbing new techniques and training methodologies from wherever they prove effective. Maybe we'll see even deeper dives into some of these traditional arts. Who knows? The human body is capable of amazing things, and MMA is a great testing ground for that.
So we're not talking about a full merger, but rather a parallel evolution with cross-pollination. Or about this idea of a hybrid space? Martin, you've mentioned schools that blend traditional values with modern, pressure-tested methods. Is that the sweet spot for many?
I think so, yes. We're already seeing more martial arts schools that aren't strictly CMA and not strictly MMA, but something in between. They retain the traditional values, the respect, the discipline, the deep understanding of technique, but they integrate modern, live training, full contact sparring, and a pragmatic approach to self-defense that acknowledges what MMA has taught us. It's about creating systems that are truly effective in a modern context, but still rooted in a rich heritage. Not quite MMA, but far from purely theoretical.
That makes sense. You can teach a kid the discipline and respect of a traditional art, but also give them tools that actually work if they ever get into a real situation. That's a powerful combination. It takes the best of both worlds, I guess. You learn how to defend yourself, but you also learn the inner strength. That's something I always respected about traditional training, even if my path was different.
It sounds like they represent different branches of the same tree. Human combat and self-mastery, as the saying goes. They serve different purposes, but they will continue to influence and inspire each other, ensuring that both paths remain vibrant and evolving. That's a really insightful conclusion, gentlemen. Joe, Martin, this has been an incredibly rich discussion. Thank you both for sharing your unique perspectives.
Thanks for having me, Peter. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure, Peter. A really thought-provoking conversation.
And thank you all for joining us on Into the Paradox. We hope this discussion gave you a deeper understanding of the fascinating world of martial arts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. We'll catch you then.